Today we're going to be looking at the whole of chapter 4, and the way that God reveals himself in this chapter is so beautiful. I want to title this chapter as The Way of Liberation. In it we see that it starts off with the temptation of Christ in the wilderness. He's led by the Spirit into the wilderness. He's tempted by Satan, and he defeats Satan. And so already we begin to start seeing that there's two kingdoms. There's the kingdom of God and there's the kingdom of Satan. And Satan is so used to winning and so used to enslaving people in their desires and their selfishness, and he comes across the Son of God and he can't. He tempts him with, hunger, with food, with pride, with glory, with being amazing, and being caught up by angels. And every single temptation he presents to Christ, Satan fails and falls short. And so the kingdom of Satan begins, we begin this chapter where his kingdom, the kingdom of Satan, is really under attack. Now he's failed. Not only has he failed, but Christ comes out of this and goes and starts preaching the kingdom of God. Now we see the kingdom of God advancing. And really what's beautiful is that Jesus comes out and he reads Isaiah 61 and proclaims the year of Jubilee. And he proclaims the year of Jubilee, the year of freedom, the year where all the slaves are set free, where all the captives are set free, where the lands are being returned to their original owner. And we see that there is in this acceptable year of the Lord that it's actually being executed by him. So he comes and he proclaims and he says, this is happening in your midst. He says that, I've come to set the captive free, to return sight to the blind, and so on. That he's proclaiming this new era of grace, this new era of liberation, of liberty, of freedom from sin and freedom from Satan. And then he spends the rest of the chapter casting out demons, healing the sick, and really physically manifesting the kingdom of God and manifesting this year of Jubilee, the freedom that Christ brings us. This year of liberation is not just for us to be set free, but also to live as free people. It's one thing to have, a prison cell door open. It's another thing to walk out. You see, we've often been told that we are set free. We've often heard, especially around, Easter, that he's conquered death by his death, that he's given us his body and blood, his life, his spirit. But it's one thing to have received these things. It's another thing to live them out. And so the way that Christ offers us is this beautiful way of liberation, of freedom. This is what he has come to do, is to set us free. And so we must choose to walk in the newness of this life. We must walk as free people. And to be free is to be free from our selfishness, to be free from our passions, to be free from the things that anger us and frustrate us, but rather to become like him and to become love. He has set us free so that we may love him and the world around us freely. And so everything in the gospel, all of his commandments, make sense in the context of this freedom. If someone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. You're free. If someone compels you to go 1 mile, go with him a second. Why? Because you're free. Your kingdom and your citizenship is in heaven. You're not bound by selfish desires anymore. You're not bound by sin. You have a God who has saved you and loved you and wants to be in union with you. What you have, no one can take away. What can separate us from the love of Christ? Nothing. Nothing. And so he wants us to walk in the same freedom of love. The cell door has been unlocked. Do you want to step out? Do you want to be free? Do you want to be free to love, to forgive, to release? You and me, now, as we live out the way of liberation, we also must liberate those around us. We also must help people to be free. And the best way to do it is not by preaching or telling them anything, but by ourselves living out this freedom. The world will see that there's a potential, something different, that there's another way of being, that one can live selflessly, forgetting themselves, denying themselves out of love for God and for neighbor. And so to be free and to set others free, we must choose to walk out of the cell door that has been opened, to walk in the dignity of God's children, and to live out this way of liberation. He has given us dominion and authority to trample on serpents and scorpions, to walk just as he walked. He even goes so far as to say that you will even do greater things than I have done. Today, may you enjoy the freedom that he is providing you, the freedom to be loved, the freedom to love, the freedom to be set free from the fevers of sin and the illnesses of sin and the torment of demons. May we walk like God's children, restored to our original image, restored to our original dominion and authority. May you have a beautiful day enjoying the freedom that God has given you. Glory be to God forever. Amen.